So this was me a year or two ago, studying for exams once again, with no idea in the world what I was doing or where I would even begin. If this sounds anything like you right now and you've still got studying to do, then maybe we're not so different after all. As you sit at your desk, surrounded by piles of textbooks, revision notes, and disappointment, I know it's hard to shake that feeling of nervousness and regret that you haven't studied enough. But here's the thing I wish someone had told me back then. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, feeling worried right now is not so much a bad thing because it shows that you care. And by the way, it's not too late to change now. Now, since time isn't really on our side with exams, we have to make a few sacrifices. One of the biggest mistakes I made during my revision was trying to do it all at once. I would sit down at my desk, determined to tackle every subject in a single study session, only to end up feeling exhausted and demotivated. I thought that I could brute force my way through revision, but all I ended up doing was just tiring myself out. I want to stress the importance of pacing yourself. This applies even now. It's tempting to dive headfirst into marathon study sessions, especially if you're behind on your revision because you've been prioritizing other things. However, as I've said, this approach often leads to exhaustion and demotivation. I had to learn this the hard way during my own revision journey. To avoid this mistake, it's crucial to break down your revision into manageable chunks. Think of this as a journey. Every time you sit down, picture yourself getting one step closer to your end goal, instead of overwhelming yourself thinking that you need to do everything by the end of today. Once you've got this down, you can now focus on one subject or even a specific aspect of that subject during each study session. By doing so, you give yourself the opportunity to delve deeply into the material without feeling mentally exhausted. And these study sessions don't need to be long. They can be as short as 20 minutes as long as it's effective. During this time, really try to decide on what your aim is for the session. Is it to improve at a certain calculation? Is it to memorize a structure to an essay? Or is it just to understand what you're learning? Setting timed goals like this is a way of making the process easier to start. And this in turn helps you stay motivated because you've told yourself that you're only going to study for an X amount of time. And also don't underestimate the importance of taking breaks. Our brains can only maintain a high level of concentration for a limited time before needing rest. This differs from person to person, but in general, research has shown that most people can sustain focused attention for about 20 to 45 minutes before experiencing a decline in concentration or performance. This time frame aligns nicely with the concept I've just explained to you. It's called the Pomodoro technique. This advocates for working in short bursts of focused activity, typically 25 minutes, followed by a short break, usually around 5 minutes. And this idea was created by a struggling university student in the 1980s named Francesco Cirillo, and his ideas have now been passed down onto you. And speaking of all this exam talk, if you happen to be in year 11 and you're doing your GCSEs, have you ever thought what you want to do after your exams this year? Well, that brings me on to today's sponsor of the video, King's Inter High. So once you've completed your GCSEs, you normally have a few different options, and one of them is choosing to do the IB. If you've never heard of it, the IB, or International Baccalaureate, is one of the most renowned and respected pathways to universities. Now, the unique aspect of King's Inter High is that you can actually study from home. They are the UK's leading online school with flexible online learning that revolves around you and your lifestyle. It's a 2-year program for students like yourselves, 16 to 19 years old, to follow your choice of subjects. You're able to study the IB diploma from anywhere in the world through live interactive lessons where teachers can use modern technology such as virtual reality. I think it's a very modern take on learning, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but it actually sounds interesting. If this is something which catches your attention, then there'll be more information in the description where you can find out the exact details. Thank you very much, King's Inter High, for sponsoring today's video. Another mistake that I always see is people underestimate the importance of practice questions, and so many people decide to slack off now because they think that they've done all that they can. I was once in that position too, as I would spend hours passively reading through my notes, especially during exam periods, thinking that repetition alone would cement the information into my brain. But when it came to apply that knowledge in an exam paper, I was lost, and I didn't know where to start with my answer or how to phrase it properly. I believe that testing yourself like this can single-handedly improve your grades tremendously in a short amount of time, but it all depends on how you use them. Let's give a realistic example and say that you're studying for a physics exam, and you've been struggling with understanding Newton's laws of motion. Instead of simply reviewing your class notes or reading the textbook and hoping for the best, I would highly suggest that you decide to tackle a set of exam questions, focused specifically on applying those Newton Newton's laws. As you work through the questions, you start to notice patterns in your mistakes. The thing about exams is that there are only so many questions that the examiners can give you. Therefore, as you do more and more practice questions, you notice something different each time. And you can sort of think of these as clues into the sort of questions that could be thrown at you when you do the real thing. Also, it's probably quite important to note that you are familiarizing yourself with the exam format, and you're able to identify your key areas of weakness as you complete a wide range of questions. Focus on your weak areas and don't neglect them. If you're struggling to learn something, that's good. You have to keep going, because that's when you know that you're getting better. I believe this also has another added benefit where you gain confidence when you go into the real exam, because you've just done so much practice. And having a little confidence goes a long way. This is such a common feeling before high pressure events, where the weeks or nights leading up to the moment, you feel as though you've forgotten absolutely everything, and like none of your work has helped at all. This is very normal, so don't worry. I'm not really sure why this happens. Maybe it's our body responding to the overloading of stress, telling us that it doesn't want to work anymore. Maybe it's part of our stress response. Maybe it's to trick us into studying harder. Who knows? But it really doesn't matter. What we should really focus on is how we actually respond to this feeling. Instead of allowing it to destroy you, recognize it as a natural part of the process. Remember that you've already put in most of the effort, and everything you choose to do now is reassurance. Trust in your preparation and your ability to perform under pressure, since you've already got this far. Focus on staying calm and managing stress. By maintaining a positive mindset and approaching anything in front of you with confidence, you'll be ready to tackle any challenges that are unfortunate enough to stand in your way. It is so important to only focus on what we can control and throw away everything that we can't. Literally just let go of all the unnecessary worries and stress. By directing our energy into more controllable aspects of our lives, like what time we sleep, what we eat, and what we choose to do with our free time, we are able to take steps and make changes which are beneficial to us. I understand that it's a lot easier said than done, because I definitely do this too, but I think that when we are feeling this sense of doubt, this negativity drifting into our head, we have to mentally block it out as soon as we sense it getting closer. In these moments, I like to remind myself that overthinking about these things is just draining my energy, and ultimately we are all the creators of our own stress. Strengthening what we choose to think and the way we think is the first step into taking action, so we end up feeling more relaxed and reassured that everything will be okay, because it will be. Now, I want to say a few things about keeping a positive outlook and some things that I wish someone had told me when I was growing up and going through these stressful periods in my life as well. I don't know about you, but I really believe in some type of destiny and the idea that what's meant to happen will happen. Life's full of many ups and downs. Some things are good and some things are not so good, but each experience shapes your path in a different way. Remember, these exams and any future ones don't define you. There are different pathways and opportunities available that you're not even aware of at this moment. Sure, grades matter to many of us, but what's truly important is where you end up and how happy you are. Focus on the positives. Learn from your mistakes now whilst you still have time to make a difference, and keep growing, because you'll have so many more chances if you keep looking for them. Don't let how you're feeling now mess with your mindset or steer you away from your dreams. Whatever's happened has already happened. What I guess I'm trying to say is that everyone will be successful in their own way, so just keep going and don't give up. I completely get that exam season is the worst, but if we make a few subtle changes, I believe that it will go better than you think. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. If you have any questions or advice, share them down below. And as always, wishing you the best of luck in everything and anything you choose to do.